Oh, Eamon.
Oh.
Why do you not believe anything I say?
Eamon Holmes back on GB News Breakfast at 6 a.m.
Hello, I'm Esther McVeigh.
And I'm Philip Davis.
Whether you're watching or listening on TV, online or on radio, we handpick the latest stories, debates and expert opinions for your weekend. So whether that's politics, news or showbiz, we've got it covered.
Join us every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on GB News.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
Why not take us home with you by visiting the GB News shop at gbnews.store. You'll find all the official merchandise, a really good present actually for yourself, your friends or your family.
We ship across the UK mainland at no extra cost. GB News, the People's Channel.
Good evening, I'm Tatiana Sanchez in the GB Newsroom. The UK says it's ready to support countries which can provide fighter jets to Ukraine. The Prime Minister made the commitment after addressing the Munich Security Conference, where he urged world leaders to act now and double down on military support. Rishi Sunak said the West's response to Russia hasn't been strong enough. To win the war, Ukraine needs more artillery, armoured vehicles and air defence.
What I've done is say to all allies that we stand ready to support them if they can provide fighter jets to Ukraine now. And for our part, we're also leading the world in training Ukrainian pilots on NATO standard aircraft. That's the right thing to do, because this is about giving Ukraine the means to defend themselves and win this war. That's about more air defence, it's about armoured vehicles, it's about long-range weapons. The UK is out in front in all of these things, and it's important that we continue to do so and lead, because we all want to see Ukraine succeed.
Rishi Sunak also said a deal with the European Union on fixing issues with the Northern Ireland Protocol is by no means done. He held talks with the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen on the sidelines of the summit. Described as a positive discussion, the leaders said intense work was still needed at official and ministerial levels, and they agreed to remain in close contact over the coming days. The US Secretary of State has had a meeting with China's top diplomat. Antony Blinken met with Wang Yi in Munich today. It follows comments Wang made towards the US earlier today, saying it's violating international norms with what he described as hysterical behaviour, as tensions have continued following Chinese spy balloons being flown over the US and Canada. A State Department spokesperson says during the meeting, Blinken made clear such an occurrence must never happen again. A woman in her 70s has died after she was attacked in a park in Exeter. A murder investigation has been launched and police are searching for a man who could be armed and dangerous. Officers were called to Ludwell Valley Park around 4 o'clock this afternoon following reports a woman had been seriously assaulted. She died at the scene. Former US President Jimmy Carter is receiving hospice care at his home in Georgia. A statement from the Carter Center says the 98-year-old made the decision after a series of short hospital stays. In recent years, he suffered from several health issues, including a melanoma that spread to his liver and brain. TV, online and DAB+ radio. This is GB News. Now it's over to headliners.
Hello and welcome to Headliners, the nightly newspaper review show that aims to leave you a bit more informed, or at least, hopefully not dumber. I'm Josh Howie, and joining me to sort through the best of Sunday's papers is the big cat, Leo Kearse, and the big hamster, Cressida Wetton. Sorry, I'm trying out some new headliner nicknames there. I don't know, what do you think?
Nice.
Yeah? I mean, we do have a lot of sections to get through, so we'll find the right one.
OK.
Hamster, I've got snaps in my cheeks. That's nice.
The dog was taken. I didn't... You know what? It's just... it was more the fact that hamster was, like, the next on the pets list. It wasn't... Now that I see you, I see... Yeah, I shouldn't have put hamster. Okie dokie! Let's move on. Let's have it... Not that you look like a cat. Let's have a quick gander at Sunday's front pages first. The Mail on Sunday. Andrew fears he will lose £30 million home. Boo-hoo-hoo. The Sunday Telegraph. Johnson's warning to Sunak on Northern Ireland deal. The Observer, Johnson threatens Sunak's bid to end deadlock over Brexit. The Sunday Times, TV station shut as Iran's killers target UK staff. The Sunday Express, forces too broken to defend UK. The Daily Star, can't get to work today. Chief as are being abducted by aliens. Britain's bosses can't get the job done because of extraterrestrials. And those were your front pages. Right. Okie dokie, we're going to kick off with the Mail on Sunday, Leo.
So, yeah, they've got that story about Prince Andrew fearing he's going to lose his £30 million home. So, apparently, Prince Charles is cutting back on the royals. So, traditionally, you know, being a king or being a princess or whatever, you get, you know, you associate it with lots of money and jewels and things like that. But now, you know, in these times of hardship, the cost of living crisis, Prince Charles wants to slim it down a bit. So, he's going to cut. Prince Andrew thinks that his grant of 250 grand a year is going to be cut, and that's what he needs to pay for his £30 million mansion. He gets to live in for free. He's just got to pay for the upkeep, but it costs a lot to pay for. So, I mean, my heart bleeds. I was on job seekers allowance once, and if that had got cut, it would have been bad. But this is even worse because it's so much more than job seekers allowance, which I think job seekers allowance is about £9 grand a year tops, whereas this is 250 grand a year, which is quite both state benefits.
People can't live on $250,000 a year. Nowadays.
This is how you end up getting a babysitting job on Saturdays, isn't it?
Well, I wouldn't want him babysitting my kids. Hey, he's never been proven. Nothing's been proven in a court of law, but still, some rumours hover around him. I'd be if I was him, I'd be grateful I'm not in some nasty, damp cell block somewhere, getting whatever they do.
Just having a laugh.
Yeah.
What about you, Cressida? Do you feel for him? I mean, to be fair, there's no to be fair, is there?
I suppose he's probably got a lot of overheads.
Paying off court cases.
Well, no, I mean, he stays in most of the time now, so he doesn't even have the overheads. I mean, this is part of a bigger thing to sort of reduce the cost of the royal family. And why don't we privatise the royal family? It's worked so well in other areas of Britain, so we'd still...
So they're a brand and they have to sell their Highgrove honey to...
They've got. I mean, they've already got all the eggs and, you know, the organic stuff from the Duchy of Cornwall, the Burford Browns and all that kind of stuff. The fancy eggs when, you know, you want to splash out. No, other stuff as well. So the jewels. Tourists would be charged to visit, you know, Buckingham Palace or whatever.
What about those plates with corgis on? Do they get royalties for those?
I don't know if corgis are a thing anymore.
They could sell and lease back the crown jewels. There's lots of ways of monetising the royal family.
What they have to do, supposedly he gets £3 million a year for his security.
Right.
You think, just stop going to, Pizza Express.
Stay inside.
Yeah. It seems like a bit of a waste of money. But and also the other thing they're saying is possibly he's going to be moving to America. That's his best option to sort of monetise his...
wow.
himself.
Do what Prince Harry did. Yeah, right, do some Netflix specials.
Yeah.
About...
I want to see what...
he will have learnt his lesson. Never go in front of a camera
again. He was
again.
much more entertaining in front of a camera than Prince Harry, I thought.
Oh, yeah, that was a good interview. We like that. Right, what delights do the Sunday Times have for us, Cressida?
OK, TV station shut as Iran killers target UK staff.
Wow.
So a dissident radio and television station based here has had to close because of terrorism. The British police are no longer prepared to protect them, and they've suggested that they go to Washington instead.
Yeah, put the problem on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, go on.
No, I was just going to say, and this is shocking. I mean, the channel's manager, Mahmoud Enayat, says that a foreign state has caused such a significant threat to the British public on British soil that they have to move an entire television station to America. This is shocking. This is a real, shows the impact of this sort of state censorship. Basically, it's state terrorism and censorship. It's a threat not just to what we can say and what media is allowed to proliferate in this country. It's a threat to the British public and British values.
Well, it's a threat literally to people's lives. I believe since in 2022 there were 15 plots to kidnap or murder journalists who work for this station. That seems incredible that they're getting it. It's amazing that our security services seem to be on top of it because it hasn't happened. But it's unbelievable that people are able to sort of come over into this country. And also, there was another report...
Have you not watched the news? There's nothing stopping people.
Someone's doing their job. But in the Jewish Chronicle, there was, I think, my favourite newspaper, where there was a plan, the Iranians had a plan, the government, to murder Jewish people, significant members of the diaspora.
Right.
Jewish community. Fortunately, I'm not famous enough, so I'm not on that list in any way. But it's scary they're out there. And Suella Braverman says that she wants to prescribe Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, like who are essentially the people organising all this. But it sort of seems incredible to me that they're not already prescribed.
Yeah, and we've seen with the Skripal poisonings and other oligarchs being killed in the UK. Other states can come in and assassinate people, quite easily. And with things that are, like Salman Rushdie and the fatwas and things that are more a sort of cultural, just a message out to any adherents of a particular sect or religion, it's very difficult when you've allowed, hundreds of thousands of people into the country who follow a particular sect,
Well done for barring that in there.
No, I'm serious. I mean, we've got 30,000.
It's just the 15 plots that are the problem.
But it's interesting that you say that, Leo, because...
It's not, because 30,000 people are being watched by security services.
Okay, but also,
30,000
this station is going
Islamists.
This station, the whole purpose of the station is people who came over with the Iranian Revolution, who were migrants, who were asylum seekers, and we took them in, and they have contributed to our society.
Yeah.
And we are here to protect them now. They're British.
Yeah.
So they're also part of that equation that you're talking about.
Well, yeah, of course, and that just shows, when you allow, influxes of people into a country, it's difficult to tell, what the genuine, deep-rooted beliefs of people are. Are they going to be like these people and pro-freedom and against Iran's state terrorism, or are they going to be supportive of it and going to be trying to kill Salman Rushdie?
Okay, well, look, that's the core base dealt with. Let's talk about the next story that's on here. The Tavistock children still referred for blockers. This seems incredible that this is ongoing. I thought the centre was meant to be closed now.
Well, it is closing, but there's 3,000 people still on the waiting list, which isn't that surprising, is it? That there'd still be So this is like the leftover, kind of the dust settling. I wonder whether some of the people on that list will change their minds while they're on it.
Well, this is it. They say 9 out of 10 people, if they're left alone with normal therapy, will actually grow out of it, as opposed to going on hormones, which it seems incredibly, you have children still being put on hormones by the Tavistock, even though a book's just come out revealing this whole scandal.
Well, this is what I mean. So maybe some of those parents, of those 6,000, however many parents, maybe some of them are thinking, I'm not so sure about this, but because of all the politics around it, maybe this is actually a lifeline for them, because suddenly they're being slowed up, they're having a chance to think about it.
I think the gender ideology cult are so brainwashed that they'll see this as some sort of transphobic bigotry. And, we talk about other cultures having things like female genital mutilation. We've got our own child genital mutilation here. This is a cult. This is basically a religious cult that's in this country.
Hysterectomies.
And and it's shocking. I mean, like you say, 9 out of 10 children with gender dysphoria, puberty resolves it. And there are some who need to transition, and obviously they need to get the help and the treatment they need. But for 9 out of 10, puberty resolves it, unless you give them puberty blockers, and then 96% go on to transition. Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, the Cass report, or the interim Cass report, came out, revealed these issues. They were talking. People who worked there were talking about transing the gay away, which is essentially a homophobic statement here. And it's amazing that these people are still in their jobs and still carrying out this scandal. I think it's unbelievable. Funnily enough, the link to the last story, I mean, in Iran, they've got the highest levels of transitioning in the world because being gay is illegal there. So you can get around being gay by transitioning to... The government basically forces you to transition. I just find that mind-blowing that a family would find that anybody could come to that logic. That's how deeply homophobic the society over there is. I guess it must be, but I mean, to put somebody you love through all of that, it's just astonishing to me. Right, let's move on to The Observer, Leo. Oh, yeah, so this is a more boring one about Boris Johnson threatening Sunak's bid to end the deadlock over Brexit. So Europe and the Tories and Rishi have been getting a bit more... Is this still ongoing? Man, this is never going away. Over. This is why we need climate change. We need sea levels to rise and just swamp Everywhere, the whole of
anymore.
Britain, so it won't even be an issue. I'd be happy just living on a little floating raft just to not have this.
Even then,
not have
there'll
this
be
in the
people
news
saying
anymore.
that Brexit wasn't done properly.
It's yeah. It's so insanely dull. So basically,
Let's talk about it more.
There's a Northern Ireland Protocol bill that allows the government to rip up parts of the Northern Ireland Protocol, whereas Rishi's bringing through this thing that means that the European Court of Justice, would still have sort of final say over parts of it, or some. I mean, God, it's so tedious. But basically, Europe and Rishi have been becoming pallier because Ukraine's brought Europe and the UK together, and also people are just becoming more sensible now.
Well, we're seeing the actual impact.
Yeah, Brexit was this sort of punk rock moment where we're like, yeah, let's do it, and it's like, yeah, it's fun to do that, but now people are a bit more. Well, let's have enough to eat.
It also partly feels to me like Johnson's just sticking it.
Yeah,
just so like a little bit.
Johnson doesn't like Rishi. Got rid of Johnson.
Create some trouble for him. Now, guide us through the Sunday Telegraph, Cressida.
OK, so refugee charities as bad as smugglers. So this is Care for Calais. We all know the charity that help people when they're coming to the UK. But our friend Lee Anderson, who's mentioned this before, he's saying that he thinks the charities based on the French coast are acting as enablers. So he's making the case that if you make it too good for people to come, they're going to keep coming. And I feel like that's true because if you're encouraging people to get into these boats, it's just horrific.
Well, I don't know if these charities are actually doing that exactly, but I think teaching them English. Oh, but then education's a good thing, surely.
No, I mean they're not just doing that. They're getting them into pathways to get across the channel. And when they get here, then Lee Anderson, who's one of the few politicians who's actually got the cojones to come out and say it.
I was trying to think what word.
Yeah, I was trying to say a word. I was like,
something round.
What word's going to be Ofcom compliant? But yeah, he's a great guy, and he's one of the few politicians who'll say this stuff and raise it. And when they get here, then it's not just the charities, human rights lawyers who, you never think they'd become a figure of eight, but like they work the system, they game the system.
There's a lot of money to be made.
There's millions of pounds,
huge business. And I should imagine they're being sponsored by Butlins or wherever these people.
I mean, he has really sort of jumped into the public consciousness over the last month or two.
Well, because he became deputy chairman.
Well, no, I know, but it feels like he's in the news quite a lot now.
And it's because he speaks truth every time he opens his mouth.
OK, then. Says Leo Kurz. Right, that's the front pages. After the break, unwanted TikTok sleuths, Bond villain DNA, and Kamala Harris points her mighty finger at Russia. See you there.
It's all about family, being in people's living rooms, all the interaction and getting to know who our viewers and listeners are.
When I was young, my dad used to say, Nana, stop arguing. I wanted an outlet that would enable me to give my opinion.
People are going through a really hard time right now, and I know that you don't feel like you're being listened to by the establishment. I came to GB News because it's the People's Channel, and I want the audience to have their say on the events of the day.
We're dynamic. We do something different. Democracy shows that the wisdom of the nation is in its people.
I get to travel to find out what the story is from a personal perspective.
The British people aren't fools. We know when we're not being told the full story.
We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this.
It's the best country in the world.
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent your views.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
Do you not believe in prison?
I don't believe in prison.
I'm completely stunned.
I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
You're an inspiration to us all.
Clip that bit off.
Well, you are.
That's my ringtone. My political ambitions those days are gone, I can tell you. She's only teasing. Go on. He's probably going to want to lay down now. I'll give him 2 minutes to have one. Let's respectfully disagree. That's what we like on Jubes and Co. Come and join us. GB News, the People's Channel.
Michelle Dewberry, weekday evenings at 6 o'clock.
I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m.
What's the scoop?
I'll be joined by two of the country's top comedians.
That's right.
As we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight.
We're going to get into trouble.
If it's a big story, we'll be covering it.
Spill some tea on him.
There we go.
But we'll also have some fun.
I wouldn't stick up a bank.
My father didn't love me. So anyway.
Headliners every night from 11 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
And right across the United Kingdom.
You can find us on Sky Channel 512.
Virgin Media Channel 604.
Freesat Channel 216.
Freeview Channel 236.
And YouView, Channel 236.
You can also take us with you on DAB+ radio.
With the GB News app and at the website gbnews.uk.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Come join us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You guys. Welcome back to Headliners with me, Josh Howie, and the big goat, Leo Kearse, and the big sheep, Cresta Wetton. Is that any better? No.
Great.
OK, all right, we've still got a few more sections to figure that one out. Let's kick off this section, though, with Sunday's Mail. Leo, have too many TikTokers been watching Inspector Morse?
Yeah, it looks like it. TikTok sleuths have sparked outrage after filming themselves digging up woodland close to where Nicola Bulley vanished. This is the mother who she disappeared, and ever since then she just seems to have vanished into thin air. And there's various people are speculating onto what could have happened, and people have been descending onto the area to try and solve it themselves. Like you say, I blame CSI. Everybody thinks they're Miss Marple and can solve a crime because they saw somebody.
It's not very.
You sure it's not? It seems like maybe. What about those True Life podcasts?
Yeah, there's a lot of people we can blame, and we'd like to speculate on that. But this guy is he's got a TikTok account called Curtis Cool Stuff. Doesn't sound like the sort of person who could solve a crime, to be honest. Sounds like it's an unboxing thing. So he went to some house that's opposite the river and searched a copse as well, which is what people call a small amount of woods. And there's also been, this thing has just attracted all kinds of cranks, psychics, all kinds of body language experts, also journalists. Nobody likes them. So yeah. Locals are complaining about the litter as well.
Well, this is it. I was going to say, Krista, with the litter.
The litter.
Now, someone was saying how these what do they refer to them? Outsiders coming here, leaving litter, and they've had to pick up litter. But they themselves, that could be a clue.
Well, the litter.
It might not be litter. That's what I'm saying.
Wow.
Like, locals are picking up litter.
You should get on this.
I'm just saying,
you should go
they
and
think
see
that they're picking
offer
up
your
litter.
services.
Maybe leave.
I like that one local dog walker who gave his name only as John fumed.
I know John.
This TikTok stuff is ridiculous. It's a lot of people playing armchair detectives and speculating about things they know nothing about. So did John have something to do with it? I don't know if that's
you think
that allowed.
And dog. Oh gosh. OK, John, put him on the list. The Observer next, and Cressida, have they discovered how to say Dr. No to cancer?
They're getting there.
They're
getting there.
Laughing at that, by the way. I appreciate that. I mean, Cressida, you didn't laugh.
Well, I don't know about Bond. I had to Google Bond villains to even try and understand this.
You don't watch any Bond?
I've never watched. I know about Austin Powers, so that's my knowledge of Bond.
So let's do the headline so at least people at home might get the joke.
Bond villain DNA could transform cancer treatment, scientists say. So this discovery has been made in bits of genetic material known as extrachromosomal DNA, or ecDNA, could revolutionise the treatment of some of the most aggressive tumours. So this is good news. It comes after £20 million have been put in to a major initiative called the Cancer Grand Challenges. So this is like, what have you done with the money, guys? Well, this is what we've done. But I don't understand why he's calling in Bond villains as the analogy. He's saying it's something to do with the fact that you don't know what's going on at first, and then these things start to pop up like Bond villains.
It might be because they sort of over-explain their plan and then give James Bond the opportunity to escape.
Well, if only they did. If only they allowed some sort of cancer-preventing treatment to go into every cancer cell. But they don't. So they don't behave like Bond villains in that respect. In fact, they normally succeed, which Bond villains, typically in each film, it never ends with the Bond villain succeeding. It's actually a terrible analogy. The one thing they do is they send out basically henchmen. So you see random things happening in the cell, but it's not this DNA. And this DNA, so it exists outside of the chromosomes, it exists curled up. So people don't see it when they're looking for, the sort of DNA, I assume. I mean, I'm talking about this stuff like I know what I'm talking about, but so it's hidden, and then it can appear as if the cell or the tumour is completely gone, the cancer's been completely eliminated, but because these curled up bits of DNA are outside of the chromosomal strings or whatever it is, they're not detected, and then the cancer can come back.
Thank you, Leo. I did not understand a word of that. But
neither did I.
You sounded very authoritative there.
I was seeing it, and I have no idea.
But it sounds like, anyway, that there's some good news. So that's pretty cool. The Sunday Express now, and this message seems a year too late, Cressida.
Kamala Harris sends warning to Putin over crimes against humanity in Munich speech. So Vladimir Putin has been warned over crimes against humanity in Ukraine in a scathing speech by Kamala Harris. Leaning on her career as a prosecutor, she said the United States had examined the evidence and determined that Russia was guilty of crimes against humanity.
Well, she's
Do you think you have to be a prosecutor to do that? I think it's a war, isn't it? I think even I know that's not a good thing.
Yeah, but some people fight well in wars and obey the law, the laws of the Geneva Convention, all the rest of it.
Not killing random people and
bombing maternity hospitals and stuff like that.
Think of all those spa days at Guantanamo Bay and the bingo nights in Abu Ghraib.
Don't do any whataboutery, please, Cressida. This is a non-whataboutery show. But there is hypocrisy here in that the ICC, the International Criminal Court, Leo, are the people who actually carry out these trials. Russia's not part of it, and the United States isn't part of it. So how are they going to actually hold these Russians to account then?
I don't know, but they have already had. They've conducted criminal trials on Russian soldiers in Ukraine. They've been doing it for a while now, because obviously they're taking a lot of prisoners. Especially when Ukraine took back a lot of its land. But yeah, I mean, Kamala Harris, she's got a super annoying voice. So even though I sort of agree with this, it's like that voice. Have you heard her voice? We did it, Joe.
I don't mind her voice.
Oh, she got a terrible voice.
Okay,
also, what I find weird about
the
this...
best commentary to the news there.
I think, oh, come on, if you're going to be... Like, all right, I've got an annoying voice, but, I'm not deputy president or whatever she is.
I think she's got a great voice. And let's finish this section with Sunday's Mirror. And Leo, the world may be ending, but at least we won't have to argue about climate change anymore.
So apparently the world risks falling into a climate doom loop.
Doom loop!
Doom loop. Isn't that a Scottish village? Doom loop. Anyway, but researchers from the Institute for Public Policy Research, this is about climate change, and Chatham House said that the focus had shifted from the sort of how to deal with climate change, so how to reduce carbon emissions to keep the temperature rise under 1.5 degrees, and now we're just focusing on the sort of short-term issues, the sort of mass migration that it causes, the spikes in food prices and food shortages. Africa, for example, is already losing up to 15% of its GDP a year due to global warming. I don't know how they know this. I mean, how can you say what Africa would have...
They're cleverer than you, mate.
I doubt they are. They still... they use the phrase doom loop. So
That's a great phrase! I think doom loop.
I'll tell you, with climate change itself isn't the problem. The problem is government saying, oh, you need to give us all this power. You need to give us all this money and power to deal with it. No, insanely powerful government is always more dangerous for people's lives than, going a couple of... In the summer, it goes up like 20 degrees. We survived that.
The point is that there are parts of the world now that are massively suffering with this climate change, where they are having droughts, whether they're having storms, whatever. They're seeing excess of these things than they've ever had before.
There's parts of the world where you can now undo the buttons in your duffel coat because of climate change, so swings and roundabouts.
OK, well, not for those people necessarily who live there. But, Cressida, the analogy that I was thinking of, it seems like they're saying that the resources... Like they're out at sea, the resources to stay afloat it would be otherwise used to get them to land. And the reason why I say that analogy is because I thought it was quite clever. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not an expert, but I looked at some numbers, and they're not planning to get rid of coal-fired power stations in India until 2030, and they're still building more. So it's like if they are putting out fires here, the bigger picture, the bigger stuff's still going on, isn't it?
Yeah.
So panic, it's a doom loop.
And so much of the stuff that the governments and climate activists will say we need to do, like carbon capture. There's that report recently about Vera, one of the world's biggest carbon capture companies and carbon offsetting companies, and apparently 96% of it was just wasted. It's all just it's a scam, just designed to steal money from your pocket.
Climate change is real.
Yeah, but we're better off...
The way that we're dealing with it, there are obviously
We're better off just accepting that it's happening and, you know, buy some sunglasses.
In the meantime,
get a T-shirt.
We've now got Doom Loop to add to the mix.
We don't have Doom Loop.
I like Doom Loop.
This is the Sunday Mirror. And if they really cared, they wouldn't have printed it in a paper, which uses valuable resources and energy.
Don't worry, people don't buy it. Right, we've made it to the end of this section. Please don't go anywhere. I am incredibly needy. Plus, you'll miss my hot take on unconscious bias. Maybe I'll learn how to spell it after the interval. More on the Roald Dahl fiasco. And Leo will be taking a measured approach to cyclists. No, he won't. See you there.
We are GB News, and we'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you for bringing us your conversations, for helping our great nation find its voice. We are here for you on radio, television, and online, across England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
It's not the BBC, you know, you actually get your facts right.
We are proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Mark White. As GB News Home and Security Editor, I cover those key issues that are so important to you. Our authorities, our communities doing all they can to combat violent crime. With the public services under unbearable strain, why are we still failing to control our borders? Defence, the first priority of any government, has been continually hollowed out. Can we trust our politicians to protect the armed forces? Join me, Mark White, on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akue, Saturday and Sunday afternoons on GB News. Expect fiery debate and passionate discussion as me and my panel tackle some of the biggest topics hitting the headlines. It's a place for everyone's opinion. No one gets cancelled, but no one gets an easy ride.
Oh, she's on it today!
Be ready for conversations that are fierce, frank, and of course, fun. Every Saturday and Sunday afternoon from 4 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel.
Monday to Thursday on GB News, it's Bev Turner Today from 10 a.m. We're going to be here for you, our GB News family, to keep you up to date, but also make you smile.
The guy went from puberty to adultery.
And I can't wait to bring a few of my own opinions.
I have no time for cultural totalitarianism.
We'll engage in passionate, but always polite debate, with your thoughts and opinions at the centre of it all. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. for Gloria Meets. In exclusive interviews, I'll be finding out who our politicians really are and what they really think.
It's something that you would never want anyone to suffer.
I didn't know what channels there were. I didn't think I'd be believed.
I must have weighed about 7 stone and I'm 5'8".
My instincts was to sort of cover this up. I mean, clearly that was a mistake.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We are GB News, right across the nation. You can get us on television, on radio, on digital. We're absolutely everywhere.
Amazing! You see, amazing!
You remind me of me in the European Parliament. But here's the most important bit. We are not part of the mainstream establishment. We think and speak just like you do. We are the People's Channel.
Magnificent. That's really, really thoughtful.
Come and join us on GB News, the People's News Channel.
I didn't realise you were such a big fan of Andrew Tate. Anyway, welcome back to Headliners, and Sunday's Guardian seems to be telling me I wasted 6 evenings in lockdown on this training, Cressida.
Wow, 6 evenings. Unconscious bias training is nonsense, says outgoing race relations chair. So the chair of the Institute of Race Relations is on his way out. He's still going to stay with the organisation, but he's not doing the same job anymore.
Was he a chair, sub-chair?
No, he's not going to be a sub-chair. He's going to be a... It's going to be something else. The point is, you'll love this, he's saying that unconscious bias training is not a good use of resources. He was working in the late 70s, early 80s, when there was a very volatile period, when there was a lot more tension, and he feels like a lot of progress has been made, so it's quite a positive take. But no, he's not having it. He thinks it's a cop-out. He even says it's a good way to let people off.
So what do you think? I mean, Leo, is unconscious bias part of this whole critical race theory? Can you please explain what it is to us?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert on critical race theory, but basically it's saying that, previously we've approached racism, which is obviously, racism's bad, but we've approached it as individuals doing a racist thing, whereas now racism is imbued within structures, social structures and organisations and all the rest of it. So everything is racist. You can't ever, if you deny that it's racist, then you're a racist. So you're caught in this sort of catch-22.
But I don't think that's really what he's saying, because he is arguing very much for institutional racism, which we saw in things like...
That's critical race theory.
But we saw things like the police, obviously the Lawrence...
He references, Stephen Lawrence, which is terrible crime, and obviously, there was systemic racism in the Met Police. I worked with the Met Police in the years after that, and they'd done a lot of work to clear it up. But then, because of the McPherson report, then public bodies and institutions became incredibly fearful of appearing racist whatsoever, and the fear of appearing racist does horrific damage. So all the victims of grooming gangs, one of the reasons those grooming gangs weren't apprehended is because authorities were afraid of looking racist, to the point that if social workers or people in the institutions raised it as an issue with their seniors, they were sent on unconscious bias training or diversity training. So, the fear, noble intentions can have horrible, terrible consequences. And I understand that, racism exists, but I think it's much better to treat it as something that an individual does in a specific instant, rather than saying it's imbued within the atmosphere around us.
Yeah, I mean, but I guess part of this unconscious bias is the idea that we don't recognise what might be racist or seen as being racist as well.
Yeah, but I think everybody's got unconscious biases.
Absolutely, depending on whatever ethnicity you are or not.
It's very difficult to reverse engineer the neural networks of somebody who's lived for 46 years and taken in all these experiences and different perspectives. And I think it's better.
46, are you?
I'm 29. But...
Well, yes, very interesting. The 46 thing, that is. Sunday's Times next, and it might be time to head down to Oxfam if you want some proper Roald Dahl, Leo.
Oh, my God, yes. So there's this sort of trend for reverse engineering and censoring works of old. So now they've come after Roald Dahl. So his children's books, which are obviously, fantastical and have really vivid imagery, they've gone through them. His publisher, Puffin, has made hundreds of changes to these books to make them more palatable for contemporary readers. Well, more palatable for the Guardian reading parents of the kids. I think the kids would prefer to have the originals. So, for example, Augustus Gloop in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory isn't fat anymore. He's enormous, and
he's maybe a big fatty. That's the whole point.
Well, that is very fat phobic. He should be called body positive or healthy at any size, I think.
Enormous. He's enormous.
Yeah. So Miss Trunchbull can't have a horsey face. She just has a face now. And they've even got rid of things like white as a sheet, in case that is racist against bed linen. I've got no idea.
Replace it with still as a statue, and surely that's going to be a problem in 10 minutes as well. Statues aren't great. I think this is outrageous. I hate whenever editors and people who think they know best come in and edit the work of an artist. I mean, I grew up on his books, and yes, they're quite brutal, but that's the point, isn't it?
Yeah.
So kids can learn about how rough the world is in avatar form rather than not learn about it and then have a shock when they meet somebody nasty in real life. It just winds me up.
Yeah, and kids are fine with this stuff because kids are evil. So, I think it's only when you get a bit older you have to learn politeness and stuff. And the ego of some little editor at Puffin Books to be like, oh, I know better than Roald Dahl. What's he going to do, take felt tips to the Mona Lisa next?
No,
exactly. That's exactly why I want. And they don't trust the readers. Like, they don't think that kids are resilient enough to think about good and bad and what's appropriate and what isn't. If you only ever see good, whatever that is, all you're seeing is this sterile nothing. I'm
completely. The guy was a big old anti-Semite, but I'm a big fan of his books.
Yeah,
and they shouldn't be changed. Although changes have been made before in terms of the Oompa Loompas they already had made changes a few years ago in terms of them being from Africa and whatnot. So, but yeah, some of these changes seem to be obviously taking it way too far. Right, The Telegraph next. And what kind of music are you into, Cresta? Stuff from all across the spectrum of gender?
Absolutely. Oxford University Press calls for sheet music broader spectrum of gender. So they've put this message out saying composers who fall within the broader spectrum of gender have been asked to submit work by OUP as part of work to improve diversity.
OUP, yeah, you know me. OK, 90s hip-hop fans.
That from the 90s?
That is from the 90s, yeah. 46.
Well, yeah, so it's the usual thing, isn't it? Equality of outcome rather than equality of opportunity in the beginning, which I'm opposed to, because I think it just means that once you start engineering these things, it means that you've always taken away the opportunity for proper glory. You know, that's, I think. Do you know, like before all this, anybody had the opportunity to be the next Michael Jackson or somebody really fantastic. And then once you start messing about with this, it's like...
As long as you had an abusive father who sort of worked you from the age of 6.
No, I'm serious, because now, if say you are the next best Mozart and you happen to be gender fluid or something, then now you're forever just written up in history as well. You got in because there was a special call-out for your sort. You know, it's like, how...
And also, like, Michael Jackson's a great example because, you know, he started off a black man and, you know, they're looking for more women to write sheet music and he ended up being a white woman.
Oh, really? That's his journey for you? OK, fair enough. But I find it's condescending because it seems to be somewhat suggesting that people of colour or people with disabilities just haven't been sending in their music. Like, i.e. now we're going to open up.
Yeah,
like,
now we're going to ask you.
What have they been doing before now?
It made me think of Nina Simone, because she wanted to be a classical musician and she wasn't able to because of her race, and very clearly it was. And then, despite all of that, she was still so mighty.
Yeah. Talent wins out. That's ultimately. Staying with The Telegraph, and Leo, seems like a bishop is being all Christian-y.
So, yeah, no, this bishop says...
It's not a word, by the way, Christian-y.
Right.
No? Is it a word?
It's not a word.
OK, fine. Sorry.
So online misogynists should meet victims instead of being jailed, according to the senior bishop. So he says that misogynists, if somebody's been misogynist online, they should be confronted with the impact of their abuse by having to meet their victims instead of being sent to jail. I mean, it might work in some cases, but I can see it backfiring in other cases. You know what I mean? If some guy's like some vicious misogynist on Twitter, and then he gets to meet the victim in real life, he's like, hey, you want to see this in real life? You know what I mean? It could really backfire. But this is part of, I mean, the bigger story is that the Church of England is backing the online safety bill, which is terrible legislation. I can't even, it just gives the government the option to censor anything it wants because it's for your safety. So anything that's legal but harmful can be censored. Defining harmful is incredibly difficult. So, for example, this week it was revealed that pictures of or footage of the migrant boats coming across the channel, they'll be illegal. You won't be able to publish them. And they say it's to stop advertisers. So, you know, smuggling gangs advertise on TikTok, and they say, you know, use our boat service to get to the UK. So it's to stop that. But really, it'll stop GB News reporting on it. It'll stop charities being able to raise awareness of it and raise funds and help the people affected.
So I think there's a lot of agreement about the dangers of the bill. But Cresta, in this specific case, what do you think about this idea of misogynist meeting?
This is the problem. I've written here, yes, I agree with this, but it still annoys me. I think there's a real case for this, isn't there? Especially to reduce jail time, because there's a public purse saving. Prison's probably not going to stop you being I mean, God knows what you have to do to be so misogynistic you end up in prison.
Not much in a few weeks.
Yeah, but the idea is, I think the point with trolling, and not just misogynistic trolling, is that people, first of all, don't see the impact.
Yes.
And they also aren't necessarily... it's very easy to behave like that online when you're faced with the other human being and they can tell you, look, this actually really upset me. I was genuinely scared for my life here.
But you can't just block the person and then you don't see it. I block people all the time. It's great.
Oh, well...
Even if they just some vague slight
but as
against
it's saying
them.
here, women are 27 times more likely to suffer harassment from men. I'm probably thinking 25% is J.K. Rowling directed towards her. So... It seems wrong.
Also, what does that say about how much more annoying women are?
Very recently transitioned women who are in some of...
Like me.
Yes.
OK, I'm going to save you out of that one. The next story is the Mail, and it's exactly why I don't take my kids out to art galleries. Also, because I can't be bothered, Leo.
Yeah, and also they're boring. But an art collector, no, this one's not boring. An art collector has shattered a $42,000 Jeff Koons dog sculpture at a Miami art fair after she tapped it to see if it was a balloon. I mean, in her defence, it does look like a balloon. It's designed to look like, you know...
What about not touching the art?
Model, well, she thought it was a balloon.
No, we've got a photo of it. It does... You do want to... I want to touch that.
But how hard did she touch it?
I know. She's like an old lady, wasn't she?
Yeah, just squeeze. She must have no hand-eye coordination. No, I'm not saying that's because of her gender, but she knocked it off. But then the destroyed piece turned out to be the most popular attraction. So maybe it's going to be like Banksy. You know, he had that piece that got shredded when it was sold. But there's some interesting things in this about Jeff Koons. He sought fame. He's become this, pop artist, one of the wealthiest artists in the world, one of the most known, best-known artists in the world. He sought fame because he had a child that was put up for adoption, and he didn't know where the child was. So by being famous, he could get in touch with his daughter.
Is that the easiest way to do that?
Well, I think for him, this was before
Good job
the internet.
it worked out,
This was
isn't
before
it?
the internet. So,
amazing.
Yeah.
He's got quite a life, hasn't he, this guy?
Indeed. Right, let's finish this section with the Telegraph, and the war between cyclists and taxis is heating up, Cressida.
It is. Taxi boss tells drivers to beware vigilante cyclists with cameras. So I didn't know about this. There's cyclists apparently going around looking out for cab drivers or drivers in general who are using their mobile phone in traffic. So they sound fun. They're getting to a point where this Mr. McNamara, who is the Drivers' Association chief, he's saying, look...
Here we go. Look, you can see...
Guys,
so these cameras are really weird because they're sort of 360 cameras.
Yeah.
And this guy he's constantly posting stuff, and they love it.
Yeah.
They love... Yeah. Oh, it's this is Jeremy Vine, and every day he's posting stuff about bad drivers or not, and they get off on it.
I mean, that guy did cut right across him, so that is quite bad driving.
One.
But some of this, they go up to cabbies that are just sitting in traffic, doing nothing, going nowhere, not going to, no chance of a crash, and they film them because they've just checked their phone or whatever, and it's treated, in the eyes of the law, it's the same as like looking at your phone when you're doing 70 on the motorway.
Yeah. But then, to be fair, we had also 499 people died in 2020. Were harmed and 17 killed from people on their phones. But you're saying that they maybe should be a discussion.
There should be some sort of proportionality. I think if you're not moving, then it's really different. And obviously, it's terrible. And I see people when I'm driving to gigs. You see cars just drifting out of their lane and stuff.
I
and then
see
you look
all of that,
over
but
and
isn't the main issue here that cyclist is a swipe left? Isn't that the main issue?
You think so?
I think that lycra and that attitude, it's not for me.
I don't like it when they've got all the, when they've got all the names, they're wearing that lycra with, like, all the brand names on it and stuff. Like you've been sponsored for your commute to work. You're cycling 3 miles, Pfizer's really sponsoring you there, mate.
Why Pfizer? You're managing to bring in these, like, your bête noirs into, like, every single story.
I love Pfizer. Yeah. Get vaccinated, get boosted. It's great fun.
And then go cycling. That's it for this part. Coming up, less than ideal sperm donors, less than ideal art appreciators, and less than ideal dating advice. See you in a sec.
First and foremost, I'm a GB News fan, and I was before I was working here. Just love the fact that we're asking the questions that a lot of establishment media won't ask.
With a bit of a twist, we not only want to inform you, but we want to keep you entertained.
It's worth the drive because you get in and the team's all ready and waiting, they're itching to go, and it's a proper little family.
GB News is the People's Channel.
It's the audience that makes the programme sing.
We're giving our viewers and our listeners a voice. I see the thousands of your letters, tweets, emails, you name it, coming in.
Britain is broken. How on earth did we get into this mess? But more importantly, how do we get out of it?
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent you.
It's time for something different. It's time for GB News. I'm very patriotic. I believe in Britain. Our best days lie ahead.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Join us here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Hi, Andrew Pierce here. Join me every Friday lunchtime for a proper no-nonsense debrief of the week's events. With special guests in the studio and the GB News team on the ground, I'll be getting you up to date with news, some intelligent discussion, and my own sharp take. The weekend starts here with me every Friday lunchtime on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Michael Portillo. Join me on GB News on a Sunday morning for topical discussion, debate, arts and culture, and sometimes even ethical dilemmas.
I don't always agree with you, Michael.
Michael Portillo, Sundays on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Here on GB News Live, we'll be keeping you in the picture, finding out what's happening across the country and finding out why it matters to you. We'll have the facts fast with our team of reporters and specialist correspondents. Wherever it's happening, we'll be there from 12 noon on TV, radio and online. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Patrick Christie's, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6. We tackle the day's news agenda like you've never seen before. It's high tempo, high octane, the most controversial topics, and the best guests. You will not be able to take your eyes and ears off it. I'm not afraid to ask the questions that you really want answered. 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Lawrence Fox, on GB News. Frank, fun, fearless, and sometimes serious. Much as I love a Friday night punch-up, what I really want is a battle of ideas. I want to look at things differently. I want to hear different voices and engage with your unique experiences. Every Friday at 7 p.m. on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners, and starting us off in style in the Daily Star is Leo, and it seems like I've been busted.
Yeah, probably. So shocked parents have discovered that a sperm donor used a sperm donor. I don't know what a donor is. That's the implement they used to get it in. They used a fake name to father 60 children, and they discovered this after they met at a barbecue and realised all their kids were bald with beards. No,
it's a standard barbecue in the West Country.
This is in Australia. It's in the Australian LGBTQI plus community. So this guy's gone through the whole community and given them all kids.
Well, that's it. What does it? I mean, the fact that they were able to identify that everyone looks. Did he have like a massive nose or something?
Well, he wasn't white. Was the giveaway?
There we go.
So he's in trouble because I didn't at first. I was like, oh, isn't he just a legend then? Is this another men can't do right for doing wrong situation? But apparently it's a problem because he was taking holidays and stuff from these families.
So he's getting paid.
Yeah, which is that's the issue. That's why he's. But it shouldn't be. It's not supposed to.
Well, I mean, it's also a sign of how desperate people are to have children and how easily they can be exploited, and why we need this kind of regulation, really.
Well, it must be so tempting for them to think, oh, I can pay this dodgy bloke a few £100.
Yeah.
Maybe he's good looking, I don't know.
Well, yeah, and especially in the LGBTQI plus community, which there's going to be a lot more of them wanting kids now that 33% in Australia, 33% of teens identify as LGBTQI.
33%. Wow, yeah. I'm going on holiday there. Moving on to The Sun now, and Cresta, is this news going to be on the upcoming remake of The Little Mermaid?
Wow. Mystery of 300-year-old mummified mermaid with creepy human face. It has got a very... Are we going to show a picture? It's got a very creepy face.
No,
that's me. That's me.
Oh my God, it's disgusting! Take it off!
It's got a tail, though.
Oh, yeah. Can she sing?
Oh my God. If you eat my flesh, you will live forever.
Why is it an ice cream?
It's not an ice cream.
Oh, man.
Look,
who wants sushi?
Do you want to hear about this one?
Sushi?
I'll tell you what, I don't want any lemon sorbet.
OK, answer me this. Would you think it was a real mermaid?
Yeah.
Because the only reason... The reason that they think this is that they don't think this is a real mermaid is because recently this university have done some CT scans and tests. Did we need the scans?
Yeah,
I mean, couldn't you have poked it? It's made of paper mache.
They probably elbowed a sick child out of the way so they could scan this weird thing.
But also, people have been praying to this, haven't they, for a couple of years?
Yes.
There's a shrine built to it. They thought it was could make them live forever.
Did it work?
Exactly. Well,
no, I think that's why they scanned it. They're like, wait a minute, I've just had a scale from this thing and it didn't work. So,
Does it look like Madonna? I don't know.
No, Madonna looks far worse than that.
I'm amazed that they had to do some tests, but it's not real.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's not
to
real.
say.
Well, that's a very sad... And you saying that mermaids aren't real either?
Absolutely.
Wow. OK, well, for Ofcom purposes, I do have to say...
I was thinking,
there are people out
define
there who do
mermaid.
think that mermaids are real.
Yeah.
Just don't want to get in trouble. Don't want any fines.
Manatees and capybara could be mistaken for mermaids.
Right, let's go to Sunday's Telegraph next. And Leo, this news is surely going to upset a lot of losers out there.
Yeah, so metal detectorists face the end of the finders keepers rules. Apparently, up till now, you know, unless it was gold or something, you could keep
precious metal.
Unless it was precious metal, you could keep your fines.
300 years old, like a mermaid.
Yeah, I don't think that would turn up on the scanner. But and also metal detectorists are responsible for 96% of Britain's historical fines. So I think there should be some sort of incentive to them, some sort of financial recompense, because otherwise the incentive is going to be for them to keep it and not tell anybody or sell it on the black market. But now, yeah, they're not going to let metal detectors keep their fines.
No, if that's true though, because I think it's your 5 minutes of fame, isn't it? They want to.
They want the credit.
Yeah, I think they want their treasure to be on the TV.
I think they want the doubloons.
I don't know. Do you guys watch that? Have you seen The Detectorists with Mackenzie Crook and Toby Jones?
No.
That seems to be why a lot of people have gotten into it.
Yeah.
Because of this TV series. So
trying to do the police job for them, going and solving missing people cases, and this.
British television has a lot to answer for. Next, we're going to have pundits giving their opinions, uninformed opinions on late night newspaper shows. That's not good. But it is amazing to see how much these people have actually found. Much more, and they seem to be very bitter towards archaeologists.
Yeah.
They're like, archaeologists getting all the credit. What about us out there?
Oh, they just archaeologists turn up with a paintbrush and just do that on the top of it. And some degree that they, got in the former Polytechnic. Whereas these guys are actually going out there, like, doing that over a field.
Yeah, you know what? Respect.
Yeah.
Respect. I'm going to take it up. Right, good for you. That is all the stories for today, but let's have another quick reminder of Sunday's front pages. The Mail on Sunday, Andrew fears he will lose £30 million home. The Sunday Telegraph, Johnson's warning to Sunak on Northern Ireland deal. The Observer, Johnson threatens Sunak's bid to end deadlock over Brexit. The Sunday Times, TV stations shut as Iran's killers target UK staff. The Daily Star, can't get to work today, Chief, as I've been abducted by aliens. Britain's bosses can't get their job done because of extraterrestrials. Now, thank you very much for joining us for tonight's show. And a big thank you to the big yak, Leo Kearse, and the big fox, Cressida West. No? None of the... You're not enjoying any of these big animals.
Fox is the best one yet.
Oh, OK, fine, good. Headliners is back tomorrow with Andrew Doyle wearing the tie, Francis Foster and myself. And if you're watching 5 a.m, repeat, good morning. Stick around for The Breakfast Show.
It's all about family, being in people's living rooms, all the interaction and getting to know who our viewers and listeners are.
When I was young, my dad used to say, Nana, stop arguing. I wanted an outlet that would enable me to give my opinion.
People are going through a really hard time right now, and I know that you don't feel like you're being listened to by the establishment. I came to GB News because it's the People's Channel, and I want the audience to have their say on the events of the day.
We're dynamic. We do something different.
Democracy shows that the wisdom of the nation is in its people.
I get to travel to find out what the story is from a personal perspective.
The British people aren't fools. We know when we're not being told the full story.
We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this.
It's the best country in the world.
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent your views.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Join my show